Yeah, sorry, guys. We're a little late, like 15 minutes, learning this Facebook live scheduling thing, and they changed a couple of clicks, but we've got it now, finally. And sorry for better, as Jeff Ogle says, better late than never. Thanks for joining us. We'll get this turkey on the road in just about 10 seconds.
5, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Pindar thinks we were at the pub. Is that what he said?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we probably should have been at the pub. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. Welcome to number, 358. And we have, we keep trying to upgrade this thing, and we're doing that notification that you will have seen pop up both on Sailing Illustrated's Facebook page and my page and some of your others. And then to go live to that, Facebook keeps messing with the algorithm, and that's not their fault. It's my fault for not having the facility to get it. But we are up and running now, and we are here in Studio B for another TFE Live. Julia, I trust you are well.
I am.
Any hot tips before we get going?
Yes, I do, actually.
What's that?
I watched an hour presentation of how California is preparing for the COVID vaccinations. And the California has 40 million people in it. And I was very impressed with what's going on. And if you're interested, just go covid19-ca.gov.
Well, what about the people in the rest of the world? I wonder how they're doing. The UK is getting, everybody's starting to get the vaccine, I guess. Isn't that true?
Yeah. Moderna seems to be coming out later this week or next week.
Okay, well, let's get on, because the America's Cup has been, that's our primary issue. We'll do a quick dip into the Vendée Globe. And by the way, the press conference just wrapped up. I was hoping we'd get into that. It went for how long? I'm not just sure if it's quite ready yet for replay, but we'll have a look at that in the meantime. Welcome to Studio B. Welcome to show number 358. This is our show for Tuesday, the 15th. And a lot of people on here already. Again, apologies for getting a bit of a late start because of trying to click into Facebook once you've scheduled the broadcast. And I think after 15 minutes, I hope I figured it out.
Yes, I'm proud of you for doing that.
Julia, you like to say at this stage?
Oh, yes. Like, follow, and share.
And the commenting, of course, is always good. They're welcome too, even in replay. And if you want to support us, we really appreciate the support, especially in this holiday season. Support us on Patreon. Become a patron on patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. Give us $1 or $5 or $10 per month. We really appreciate it. Also want to send our thanks and appreciation to Magnus Wheatley, who was on the show Friday. That show's had well over 6,000 views, so I'm glad we're back to Facebook. And I've also uploaded that show to YouTube, and there's a couple 300 views there now, Julia, and lots of comments. I mean, we've had almost 600 comments here on Facebook, and there are even comments on YouTube. So I think that strategy of uploading the show to YouTube right after we're done, and I'll do it, as I said on Friday, I'll do it religiously. I'll do it without fail. Now, we have another thanks. A thank you to, you know this, can you recognize this? You probably don't recognize the art, but can you see the title down in the corner, the name?
Frank.
Right, it's Frank. It's Jonathan Frank, USA artist from Galveston, Texas. Now, do you recognize the name, Jonathan Frank?
Galveston, no.
Yeah, Galveston, that's right. But this is Jonathan Frank, the artist. He's a retired United Airlines pilot. He is also a FOSI. He calls himself the Aeromotive Artist. And we want to send him thanks as well, Julia, because you haven't shown you this.
No.
See this? Look at that.
Oh,
beautiful
neat.
Painting.
Yes.
And that is the painting from Jonathan Frank that he sent us, that he says is the pivotal moment from the 20 2013 America's Cup here in San Francisco. He also put quite a nice notation on the back from the artist, which I took a couple of photos of it so you can see. There's the picture itself. The moment ETNZ almost capsized here, San Francisco 2013. And here's what he said on the back to Tom and Julia. Thank you so much for the hours of information, entertainment, and fun. Fair winds. Stay safe. Go sailing. Jonathan. And I can't make out Barduda?
Barbara.
Oh, it is Barbara. Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you. Barbara Frank. And he's called the painting, I guess, Hydros, which was the call being made by Emirates Team New Zealand.
Oh, how terrific.
When they needed, Dean Barker, of course, was then driving. He's now driving for New York. Hydros. And they managed not to capsize. It was a dramatic moment, very cool moment here in the Cup in 2013. Original oil painting of what he calls the turning point of AC-34, Jonathan Frank, on the 20th of, I guess, November here this year.
Oh, how nice.
So it is really nice. And if you're so inclined, you can go to his website. Jonathan Frank he calls himself the Aeromotive Artist, and his website is aeromotiveartist.com. Our Fozy, Jonathan Frank. Many thanks, sir, to you for this lovely painting, which Julie, I guess the question is, do we put it in here, up over there? Do we put it down, maybe down here in this negative space?
Maybe so.
Just hung down there, but I don't know about putting it down. I'm not sure where else we'd put it here in the studio anyway, but
we'll find a place.
Prop it up back here.
Mm-hmm.
But we appreciate that. It's an oil. It
really is nice.
Really a nice painting, isn't it?
And brings back nice memories.
Nice memories of 2013 of that come from behind when Oracle was down 8-1, Oracle Team USA, and came back and won 9-8.
Yes.
Okay, speaking of the America's Cup World Series, it's a program note, we will have show 359 tomorrow night, Wednesday, at 1800 Pacific, 6 p.m. Pacific, which is 0300 CET in Central Europe. It's obviously 2100, 9 p.m. on the East Coast here, but 1800 tomorrow, Wednesday, is when the first race of the America's Cup World Series, Auckland, will take place at 3 p.m. on Thursday in Auckland. Now, we're going to do a watch party, which means, as we discussed on Friday and got your views from the Fozy, all of you friends of Sailing Illustrated, we will go with just a chat show, and maybe we'll have Zoom. I have to figure that out between now and tomorrow evening. It is tomorrow evening, Wednesday evening.
Wow.
And we'll have a chat show. We'll see all your comments. I can't live stream the video the show coming from New Zealand because we'll get a copyright strike, I'm sure. But do watch it on a separate device, whether you're watching it on YouTube or Facebook. They're on their website, americascup.com. If you're in the U.S., you can't watch it here. It'll be geo-blocked unless you have paid the $75?
Correct.
$175 to get the NBC Gold package, which then streams on their NBC's digital platform. And that may be true in a few other countries where you have to buy the local package. So check your local listings. We'll be watching it either via VPN or the Gold package or maybe both just to compare, because the Gold package will have Kenny Reed as a commentator and the world feed. And then I believe the YouTube channel will have the New Zealand commentators, but I'm not 100% sure. So it'd be interesting to see how that all goes.
Maybe we should do both.
Maybe we should do both just to watch them, and you can watch one and I can watch the other, and we can see what people are saying. Okay, so that's tomorrow night, that program note, at 1800 Pacific, tomorrow night, Wednesday. And that, of course, is Thursday at 3 p.m. in the afternoon, 1500 in Auckland, when race one, and of course, race one is New Zealand against Italy. So it's ETNZ against Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli. Check in to the Volvo, to the Vendée Globe, around the world race, day 37, nonstop in solitaire, nonstop alone around. Ruyant has taken the lead. We have a lead change. The leaders are just 1,000, and they're very close together. There's 5 boats within eyesight, or were when the sun was still up. They're about 1,000 miles south of Adelaide.
Really?
And Ruyant has taken the lead. They're in the last few days now in the Indian Ocean as they're moving across the Southern Ocean and have moved in, and they are now headed for, obviously, the Corn, Cape Horn, and Charlie Dallin, who suffered an UFO, an unidentified floating object, he says, had to pull up and try to do some repairs. He has apparently managed to somehow make a half-assed repair to his foil, and he's resumed racing, and here's the latest on all of that. Having been slowed since around 1800 UTC yesterday evening to evaluate and then today to make some kind of a repair to his portside foil system of a PBA, Charlie Dallin has dropped to third and lost over 120 miles to his two nearest rivals, Thomas Ruyant and Yannick Bestaven. But Dallin, Vendée Globe leader for 23 days up until last night, appears to be back in race mode this afternoon. So that's great news. We should be probably, Julia, giving him a bravo Zulu for making that mid-ocean repair.
Absolutely.
He appears to be back in race mode this afternoon, making over 14 knots southeastwards toward the South Pacific Ocean. His team have so far only shared scant details about the problem, saying only that the damage is not thought to have been caused by a collision with an object. It is thought to have been. It is not thought.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's new news to me.
Yeah.
I misread that when I scanned it, putting it in the show. So that's, it must have been a failure then. The equipment failed. Let's see if any of our foes have later news on that. Dallin's communication said that, and this is just their press release from a few minutes ago, the port foil remains whole. The damage is to the lower support where the foil rests as it leaves the boat. Charlie has therefore been focusing on strengthening the foil attachment to make sure the casing remains secure. Meanwhile, Thomas Ruyant, who himself has no working portfolio on Linked Out, has taken over the lead again with a small margin of around 10 miles, which last I checked was the same lead. 10 nautical miles over Bestaven's Mater Koch, as the leading group broad reach eastwards towards the Antarctic exclusion zone before jibing to parallel the ice boundary and accelerate into the Pacific Ocean later tomorrow or Thursday, headed for, as we keep saying, what Paul Gerhardt calls the Corn, Cape Horn. They're making amazing speed. Here's just an astonishing video. Have a look.
Look who we found. Damien Séguin Apicil. And then look who we found. Bureau Vallée, Louis Burton. Here. Water Family, Benjamin Dupont, Jean Le Cam. Yes, we can. Il y a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bateaux. 5 bateaux ensemble. C'est complètement fou ça. Ha! Il prend des photos aussi. Comme des touristes. On est comme des touristes là.
That's close. Look at that, Julia, how close they are.
What an incredible moment. 5 boats meeting in the Indian Ocean halfway around the world. Just like this. Completely unheard of, I think. We're like 3 boat lengths apart and 300 meters to the other. And Jean, maybe 2 miles. We will have our aperitif together now. Once I've finished this, I'm still like fiddling around with my making my new car here for my cassette, the upper bearing of the cassette, to put this thing back into place.
Wow.
And at the same time, I have to look out to not crash into him. Very funny. Love it. Now it feels like a race. Not so lonely anymore, huh? Yeah, yeah.
These guys
Amazing
are
picture.
just astonishing.
Yes.
You know, he's smiling from ear to ear. They're having fun. There's, as he said, it's probably unprecedented. I haven't found anybody who can say that's ever happened before, that 5 boats are within eyesight or, eyesight of each other.
Yeah.
So that's the obviously the quick look into the Vendée Globe, and the leader now, who's taken over, but he's only 10 miles, if that, nautical miles ahead, Thomas Rouillant on Linked Out. It's not in Thomas Rouillant's habits to stay inactive for a long time, determined to take the start of the Vendée Globe again in 2020. This is his second entry. He didn't hesitate long before deciding to have a new boat built, even before finding the partners who would sponsor him with the support of a few investors who had particularly enjoyed his talent. In the 2016 Vendée, Thomas asked Guillaume Verdier to design a latest generation boat. So he's got a new boat. Now it's, of course, hampered a little bit by having lost part of his portfolio. Able to rival the best, and why not? It goes on. I won't bore you with the rest of it. But let's see if I can find here. There we go. We can go to the live tracker and see what's going on. You can see there they are down here on the bottom. And say we zoom in a bit. It's bottom of the world.
Mm-hmm.
South of Adelaide, as we said. And nice to see Charlie Dallin in the yellow boat. That's Dallin.
Mm-hmm.
And Apivia is back in action. There is Thomas Rouillant in LinkedIn, obviously in the blue boat.
Mm-hmm.
And that is Yannick Bestaven in second. And I guess that video was must have been taken by, who it is, Jean Lecom, and I think that was taken by Boris Herman. Wasn't that Boris Herman who took that video? I think so. So that's the latest. That is updated as of the next ranking is 2,100 hours. So let's see if let me refresh the browser and see what's happening here. Yeah, there it is. Now that's a little more, that's the 2,100 now update. And there's the 3 boats, and then you can see the others behind.
Yeah.
It looks now like, Linked Out's still leading, but only by, again, 10 miles. You can see 9.7 nautical miles over there on the left, ahead of Yannick Bestaven, and Charlie Dallin is in third, but he's 100 and now almost 40 miles back, 136 and a half. And Jean Lecom, who is going to get some kind of time for the rescue that he did, and so will a few others, but he's now 440 miles back, but he's in the race. And by the way, Julia, so is Samantha Davies. She's resumed. Yes, I got that word before we went to air, and she's left Cape Town. She's resumed the race, which is a bravo Zulu to her and her team as well. Terrific stuff. And, of course, to the new race leader, Thomas Rouillant, who just has a scant, as we said, 10 nautical mile lead over Yannick Bestaven. It was 9 nautical miles when I made this lower third. That caption about an hour and maybe a half ago. Now, okay, so let's press on to what I'm sure you want to get to, the America's Cup, but not before we do This Day in History, because I was roundly criticized for not having a This Day in History last Friday, and I said, well, there's nothing going on today. Well, there's always something that has gone on in the last 2,000 or 3,000 years of recorded history.
Yes.
Likewise, today, and several of you sent this to me, including and especially Julia, This Day in History. You know what happened? And we have one for the 15th, and for those of you down under, the 16th of December in 1939 and 1773, respectively.
Well, I know what 1939 was.
Because you sent that to me.
Yes.
And it's one of your favorites. Well, let's not say what it is.
Okay.
One of your favorites, isn't it? This Day in History, the 15th and the 16th of 1939 and 1773, respectively. Here's your first clue for the 1939.
Red, you go. Where shall I go? What shall I do?
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Now, that gives it away for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Anybody that doesn't know that is a crouton.
Yes.
Right? You're a crouton if that clue doesn't give it away. Well, specifically, I mean, that's Gone with the Wind, which, as Hamish Ross said, That's got to be appropriate for the America's Cup and the Vendée Globe.
Absolutely.
Gone with the Wind, you know, especially the losers. Well, on this day in 1939, on the 15th of December, Gone with the Wind premiered in, you know where?
Atlanta.
Atlanta, exactly right. And that was starring Vivian Leigh and Clark Gable. The film Gone with the Wind, a romantic tale of the American South during the Civil War, adapted from the famously good 1936 novel by, you remember? Don't look at the clues.
I'm trying to read comments.
Well, then read comments. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. But by Margaret Mitchell.
Oh,
right?
oh yeah.
Did you read that book in school?
Not in school.
But you read it since.
Oh, yes.
I've never read it. I'm sorry to say I've never read it. But it premiered this day in Atlanta, Georgia in 1939. That is courtesy of Metro-Goldwyn MGM Inc., that photo. Kind of a cool photo. But wait, there's more. You know who played Rhett Butler, right, Julia?
Yes.
Who was it?
Clark Gable.
Right, Clark Gable. Now, do you know who aspired to play Rhett Butler in maybe a remake?
I forgot. Oh, yes. Wouldn't that be good?
The Mouth of the South, Terrible Ted, the winner of the 1977 America's Cup. He bought the right, he bought the whole MGM catalog of movies so that he could air them on his television stations. In fact, he created a station which is going strong here in the U.S. called Turner TCM, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what it's called? Turner Classic Movies.
Yeah.
And it's a great channel if you like old movies.
But there's another one too, TNT.
Yeah, but that's more of a sports network and whatever else. But Turner Classic Movies airs a lot of these old movies, including Gone with the Wind. And of course, Ted Turner, he aspired to, he modeled himself. Well, you call it what you want, but I think he was
Rhett Butler in
the modern era.
Yeah.
Flashing gentleman from the South that he is.
It would be fun to see him do that role, wouldn't it? He'd probably do it really well.
I think he's a little long in the tooth now.
Oh, he is, but
I think he modeled himself as that dashing Southern cynical gentleman.
He was.
Frankly, my dear.
I don't give it him.
Okay. Ted Turner. Now, what happened when was it? 1773?
73.
The Boston Tea Party, which arguably was didn't start the American Civil War, but it may have been one of the final straws on the camel's back. Boston Tea Party on this day in 1773, American colonists disguised as Mohawk Indians threw 342 chests of tea, which was, an expensive commodity in those days, belonging to the British East India Company into Boston Harbor to protest a tax on tea.
Yes, shame on him.
Which was, any tax, of course, is rarely popular. And a tax on tea, that prized commodity, prized, what would you call tea? Beverage, but it was a luxury good, wasn't it?
Yes.
Wouldn't you say that?
Yep.
On this day in 1773, the Boston Tea Party, both, sort of sailing water related.
Well, it's the ships that they tossed them up the ships.
You know what else? I didn't put it in the show, but what else happened on this day is that a Portuguese explorer whose name escapes me. Now that I've brought this back up, I should have never, because I look like a crouton. But on this day, the first ever European, apparently, reputedly, speaking of the Capes, a Portuguese explorer went around the Cape of Good Hope, what they then called the Cape of Storms, I think, because it was so stormy down there. And he was looking for a route to
India.
Exactly. Route to India. And he came back to Portugal to a hero's welcome, apparently, on this day in history. And God knows what year that was. One of our foes will look that up and see who that was. Okay, let's get to the cup. I was hoping to dip. In fact, during that 15-minute dalliance we were trying to get on the air, I was actually over here on this computer watching the America's Cup press conference. And those press conferences are usually, frankly, having been to, I don't know how many of them, especially these kick off the series, the pre-series press conferences, are usually deadly dull. Everybody's uptight and got their cards close to their chest, and they're not really letting out anything cat out of the bag. And today, despite the efforts of Bernie Wilson, and we saw Craig Lewick come on, and we saw Dave Reed, who's the editor of Sailing World from Newport, Rhode Island, come on. And I think there was one or two from the UK on by Zoom. I say, come on. They asked the questions, well, Ben, how you doing? There's reports your boat's had some problems. And Ben said, well, we all have problems, and we're all getting up. It was, platitudes and hiding behind their card, keeping their cards close to their chest. I'm mixing metaphors here like crazy.
You are.
Julia. Help me out. You're supposed to help me out.
Okay.
So we have a Stanford graduate, and you're looking at the comments over there. To
Yeah.
see
I have
because
one eye and
there
one
are
ear.
so many comments.
Yeah.
So now here is I thought we'd nip in and look at a replay, at least the beginning, because there was some cool stuff about this press conference. Guess who is the moderator, Julia, of the press conference? He's returned from Russell Coutts having tried to put young, cool people, British,
Yes.
on as the moderators of the press conference. Guess who's returned? Yes.
Ooh.
Bruno Trublet is moderating the press conference.
Oh,
And,
neat.
his wife was in the audience,
Yeah.
and it's really back to the future. Great to see Bruno there. He's got so much class and style and history and dignity and grace. He, of course, the one who invented the Challenger Selection Series, originally as the Louis Vuitton Cup, now known as the Prada Cup, because Patrizio Bertelli and Prada are sponsoring that series, which starts in January before this warm-up series, before the match, which is March 6th. But then we have this warm-up series starting tomorrow night, Thursday local time in Auckland. And let's get into it because we got a bunch of cool video, good video. Here is what the press conference, I tried to nip back in on on YouTube. And look at what you get, Julia. Video unavailable. This video contains content from WMG, who has blocked it in your country on copyright grounds.
Is that for? Oh.
So I can't watch a replay here. I'm on the YouTube channel. There's what it looks like. And when I, let me go in here close. And I thought, okay, we just push this is the americascup.com channel. And there's, join us live for the press conference. The press conference closed. And now you try to look at it and it's blocked because apparently of a copyright. So I don't know if they used some music or they used whatever. But here we go. Mm-hmm. Here we go again. So we can't look at it. But we can look at this, which is the video from a day ago, or maybe 2 days ago now, that promoting the final 3-day countdown to the America's Cup World Series Auckland and the Christmas Cup, which is, of course, the 17th through the 20th, Thursday through Sunday if you're down in New Zealand. Okay, good stuff. There's a lot of video that's come out in the last few days. We're going to play quite a few of them for you because they're good, they're fun, and they're informative. The next one is from TV New Zealand from a night or so ago from One News Sport.
All four America's Cup teams were out on the water this afternoon for their second to last chance for some practice racing. Team New Zealand will be sitting down right about now to debrief the day and work out what could be improved, and new technology is helping them make those small tweaks faster than ever. Abby Wilson explains.
Team New Zealand finding speed on the racecourse, and in this game there's always room for improvement.
Often our sailors, for instance, will come in and say they are having difficulty in a manoeuvre because of the positions of the buttons, or there's a huge amount going on in the cockpit and they want controls in a different place.
In past campaigns, that's meant sending designs away for new parts to be manufactured elsewhere. This time, they just walk into their team base foyer.
This is the 3D printer.
They're now able to print out whatever they want fast.
It's around a 12-hour process, 10 to 12-hour process.
It prints each piece in layers as thin as a piece of paper, converting a powder to a solid using liquid fusion and heat.
Our engineers have worked in true partnership with them, and they literally learn together. They've taught us things about the machine that we've taken back to worldwide, and we've taught them things about how to use it on the boat.
Many of the parts Team New Zealand is printing are small components, but some play important roles around key speed pieces like the foils.
If you can print out the tooling for those and get them made really quickly, then it just means you can get through more iterations, which ultimately means you're going to have faster foils.
Team UK were back on the water today after a week in the shed, where they've perhaps been making their own improvements and tweaks. This afternoon, all 4 teams headed out for practice, but once again, Ineos had to be towed back to base. Probably not a good sign, considering the Auckland World Series begins on Thursday. Abby Wilson, One News.
Oops. The video stopped, and Julie was asking me a question about can we bring somebody on camera, because we see buttons here. Those of you that are Facebookers and our friends, we could actually push the button and bring you on. But we'll do that via Zoom in due course. But I like that video, and about printing. That's the brave new world, of course, for a lot of these companies and teams as well. Here's yet another video from that same newscast that I also think you'll find interesting.
Just 3 days away, there are major concerns over Team Ineos UK. The British syndicate has been slammed back home, their boat being called the lame duck as technical issues have kept them off the water in recent days. So they've turned to New Zealand rugby legend Dan Carter for help.
We just had a lot of questions to him around the culture within the All Blacks and how they work together, not only as the sort of starting 15, but the wider group. And a lot of those lessons translate over to us as a sailing team and then into the design group as well.
Team UK take on American Magic in their first race, while Team New Zealand take on Luna Rossa.
Okay. That is interesting in what it doesn't say. And we're going to tell you what it doesn't say here in a sec. But that was from a couple, 3 days ago now. And give you a little bit of a preview from this practice racing, because this practice racing, there was only one actual race where they went around the whole track, I think, up, down, twice. And you can't take a lot from this, nor should you, but we're going to give you some reports, some keen observers, and tell you what we're hearing from various sources in a moment after we look at this video about the opening of the village.
Here we are in the heart of the America's Cup Race Village, which is open and free to the public from the 15th of December. Today we're going to give you an inside look as to what you can expect to see.
Opening times for the America's Cup Village differ from race days to non-race days, so head to americascup.com to find out more information.
Alright, so obviously today is just a normal day here in Auckland, so not too many people around, but come race day, there's going to be plenty of people down here. It's going to be full on, so make sure you get down here nice and early to beat the crowds, because obviously there is a capacity here within the race village. One of the cooler parts of the village behind me here, the AC75 simulator, your chance to really see the speeds of the boats, get that feeling of being out on the Hodaki Gulf on an AC75. Official store just over to my left here. Great opportunity to chuck on team kit, whatever that team is you're supporting, hopefully the Kiwis.
So when you come down to check out the village, make sure that you check in using the COVID-19 Tracer app. And we also ask that you bring along your water bottle, because we've got refill stations down here to keep you hydrated.
Tucked under the Emirates Team New Zealand base is a Spark 5G race zone, which is a great way to learn more about the personnel within Emirates Team New Zealand. There's of course a simulator inside here and many more things, so come check it out.
Stretching from down at the Eastern Viaduct all the way to here in Silo Park, it really is an incredible place to host the 36th America's Cup. With the extension of Silo Park, there's a lot going on down here. We've got markets.
Looks nice, doesn't it, Julia?
We've got movie nights.
And she's adorable.
Yes. North Wharf, and some really cool activations from sea cleaners.
Not that Blair isn't. But
it's a great space to come down with the family and enjoy it for everyone. We want everyone to be able to enjoy the America's Cup, so keep in mind that there will be road closures in the area. So plan ahead and utilise public transport.
So this is probably my favourite part of the village. It's the one spot you can see all 4 teams from. So Ineos Team UK behind me here, American Magic. Over further to the east is Luna Rossa, and then this is us at ETNZ tucked in here. So this is the spot where you can watch the boats go in the water. Really cool spot to get all the perspective at one time.
There's heaps happening down here, so make sure you head to the America's Cup social pages and follow them so that you can see what's going on and stay updated.
Well, I better get back to it. I hope you've enjoyed the tour. Look forward to seeing you down here from the 15th of December.
Oh, that's nice.
It is. I'm just sad more people aren't going to see it.
Well, it is sad, and I think New Zealand is just hoping that they can win it so they can have another America's Cup in 3 years' time. We'll tell you that what my projection is for what's going to happen if they do win, and most people think, Julia, that they're going to win. Nice video, and attractive young people, and that whole thing of putting your hand up against the camera is very. I don't know if you, Julia, you've ever looked at TikTok videos. That's the cool new thing that the kids all do. The very short, ironic, and there's a lot of kids dancing and some other stuff. And TikTok videos are cool.
Yes.
And, you know, it's a lot of them are kooky, too. I mean, they're cool and some are just croutonic. But it's young, it's fresh, and then you get a nice mixture because you have Bruno Troublé in the media center now doing, by the way, I went to you while that video was playing. I went to YouTube, the America's Cup YouTube channel, and I went to their YouTube page, and there is the supposed replay. This has been up there for a while, and this must have been a test because this has been up for several. You see, it says streamed live 7 hours ago down there in the lower left corner. So it must have been a test that they did, but that's what's there now. If you go trying to look for the press conference and replay. Now, Julia, didn't you say that Stingray said he watched the press conference on YouTube?
Right.
Well, so did we. I had it on here and watched it while we were fiddle-farting around trying to get ourselves on the air with this new fangled live stream presetting. And I was listening in one ear to the press conference, and as I said, it was a lot of, tell me if you disagree, Stingray, because you were watching, I'm sure several others of you were as well, but it was the usual, if I've seen that, I've been in that movie, but if I've seen that movie once, I've seen it, I don't know how many times, 50, maybe more times, 100 times, I don't know. And you have to do it. You have to get it kind of a little thing especially for the non-sailors, but there's very little information imparted. It's more of a feel, and it does give you a feel like that Blair Tuke video just now gives you a nice feel for what looks like a terrific, simple but effective village. And it just popped up in the last couple of days. Full marks, Bravo Zulu to them, and hopefully it will be a nice event for all the Kiwis at least who are able to get there. Now, Julia, I don't know if you saw, I see a discussion going on between Australia and New Zealand now that they've got things tamped down and the vaccine's coming. They may have a travel bubble between New Zealand and Australia.
Yeah, I saw that.
Did you see that in the news report? So maybe there'll be some back and forth
That
now.
would be good.
So at least some Aussies can get there. Not that they have a team, but they've got Jimmy Spithill and any number of other Aussies on the various teams. Here is another video that I think you'll really enjoy. This is the opening of the village. Yesterday morning.
Fantastic that we're here today on a glorious day, and Ngāti Whātua have been such an integral part of this whole America's Cup village. It's being shown off to its absolute magnificence.
Amazing. Like, this wasn't here 2 weeks ago. You wouldn't know any of this was here. It's amazing what they've done in such a short time.
There's plenty to do down here. It's got real energy about it. It's very exciting. I hope that there will be a lot of spectators and Kiwi fans, but Luna Rossa fans.
We are in heaven. To be here is a privilege. Nowhere else in the world can one have the quality of life we enjoy in New Zealand.
Awesome to have the America's Cup Race Village open today. We've got the Prada World Series and Christmas Cup Regatta coming up. It's awesome environment, atmosphere down here. Come and get amongst.
We are about to witness one of the most spectacular America's Cup events seen in the history of.
Okay, well, I don't know what happened to that video, but it obviously crapped out. We're still on the air. We're still live.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't know why that video cut out, but it was okay. It was getting a little long anyway. The American ambassador, by the way, Julie, he was there. I think it was a he, yeah. And he read the Kennedy speech from the 62 America's Cup that he gave. They had the white tie dinner.
That was such a great
in Newport
speech.
for both the Aussies and the Americans.
Yeah.
And that was, well, you've all heard it before. What I call the blood, sweat, and tears speech that Kennedy's, one of his speechwriters, wrote. It was fabulous, frankly, fabulous speech. Well, there is, you can see the fast-looking yacht, and of course now it's confirmed as being fast. This, of course, is ETNZ's boat, and it's looking faster the more we see it out on the water. Now, here's another interview. This from the morning after yesterday morning after they opened, dedicated the village, and it was really the opening ceremony for the event. The ambassadors were there and so on. This is a longish, I think it's 7 minutes, give or take, interview on the morning show, the breakfast show on Channel 1, TVNZ, who are the host broadcasters, by the way, with Grant Dalton. And this is quite a bit more interesting than today's press conference, frankly.
Joining you from the America's Cup Race Village. I've got to get that right. With me is obviously the CEO of Team New Zealand, Grant Dalton. But it's been a big morning here, actually. We've opened up the village this morning. Ngāti Whātua Orake doing the karakia this morning, as well as a little bit of a ceremony to open up the village, which is going to be open right through until the end of racing in March, right?
Absolutely, until we win the America's Cup, and that'll be a big party.
Yeah, that'll be a big party. But before then, we've got racing that's coming up on Thursday. So I've been describing it as, well, it's the World Series, but I've been describing it as like a pre-season tournament. That's about right. All 4 teams on the water, having a bit of a race, sussing each other out before we head into the Prada Cup.
Yeah, it's important for us because it's the only opportunity we get to race in anger. And
Sorry, what does that mean?
Well, I mean, the Prada Cup is the challengers deciding a challenger to race us, and we don't race in that. So the only actual racing we will do against these challengers is this week, and then the next time we see them is at the start of the America's Cup, March 6th.
So how are you feeling? Obviously, we've got the racing that's from Thursday through to Sunday, but how are you feeling about where the team is at, given the fact that after this, you won't be racing again until March?
Well, I think we'll have a better idea of that on Sunday, obviously. And people talk about, will teams sandbag? Will they not bring their A game? They'll bring their A game to this because there's been so little racing based on COVID. You've got to bring your A game to find out where you're at. So that gives us a gauge for sure, and them of us as well. Every team feels good at this stage. By Sunday, 1 or 2 might not feel so good.
Hey, speaking of, we've been talking a little bit about the British team. Are they going to make it to the start line on Thursday?
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, we get asked all the time, what do we think? And first of all, it's unfair to try and even draw any conclusions of any challenger at this stage. I mean, you are dealing with some pretty seriously impressive yachtsmen, design teams, and money in some cases. So you'd like to take something from it. In your quiet moments, you maybe give yourself a little counsel on it, but it's wrong too. And for us as well. I mean, we bring our A game on Thursday, but we're not at full speed because we've still got quite a while to go, and we've still got weaponry to bring on stream.
Last practice session today, what will that involve?
Yeah, yesterday we practiced, but there wasn't that much wind, so again, you didn't learn too much. But today it's not bad. It's not bad. I think 10 to 12 knots, which is probably quite important in so much as it's possible. I mean, the weather, we all know, as you know, can be what it wants to be, and you can't predict. But normally around March, you get the west coast sea breeze knocks out the bay's sea breeze, and you get sort of 12 to 14 in the harbour. So today should be around that 12 knots. So you're getting a bit of a kind of feel of what the conditions might be come race time for us, March the 6th.
So if we look at today's practice session, you obviously do a debrief afterwards. How important is that? And you're obviously involved in that as well.
Yeah, I'm on the water every day. I mean, there's guys way smarter than me that debrief. I mean, I listen and I learn, actually. I learn all the time, like we all do.
Do you chip in, though?
No,
Surely.
not so much. Well, you'd say that most people say I couldn't help myself, but no, not so much. I listen, and you know, the guys, they got to debrief. I mean, the yachtsmen, they've got to debrief with the designers and with themselves. And if I see something that's been lurking in my brain for a little while that I see as, you know, potentially an issue, I'll chip in the background and go through the right channels. Can't help myself. But not really. You know, the place is running really, really well. I think, and history will prove this right, I think that this is a period of dynasty a little bit for us, in the same way the All Blacks came out of 2011 and we all watched them hang on for that 1-point win, and then they went into a very dynasty period. It feels a bit like that in the team. Now that doesn't necessarily translate to winning all the test matches, but that's how the team feels. And people that sort of, Bermuda was a kind of a milestone moment for us, not only just winning, but it was a new team making decisions that they were not necessarily comfortable to make because they were empowered but kind of hadn't got the confidence there. Now all that proved to be correct, and so now they're much more empowered to make decisions and to be brave to make those decisions. So it's a very, very easy place to work in at the moment. Not to the point that it's easy, that it's so friendly with itself that it's not strong. But I think we're in a really strong position at the moment.
Now, I've been getting the wrap call. So before we do that, I do want to mention, because you've got a very cool team, and it's not just the team that's involved with the sailing, that's involved with the design, but we've had Norm hanging around. And Norm's, I just heard him. Norm's been with the team since 1999. Now, he's a little bit camera shy, but can we just flick round, Hayley, to Norm? He's disappearing. But
well,
anyway,
he's the security guard, and you're not supposed to know he's there. That's why he's hiding. He's like a spy. You don't want to be able to find him.
But you know, you've got somebody like Norm who has been part of this team since 1999. I mean, there are a lot of good people that are doing things that, you know, we don't see because we only ever see the team.
Well, you know, we always pride ourselves in our culture. That's our strength, and Norm's part of that culture. I mean, the America's Cup wouldn't be the same without Norm.
Norm, are you sure you don't want to just pop into shot? Okay, yeah. I was going to steal his white gloves because he wears white gloves to look after the cup, which is obviously sitting behind us. Thank you so much for your time this morning. I feel like I should say Mr. Dalton.
Well, if you do, no one else does.
We appreciate it. And, you know, I know this is a busy time, but it's also an exciting time too for the racing world, you know, across the world, but also for us. And for us to be lucky enough to be able to do something like this, right?
Well, and TVNZ being the host broadcaster,
oh, yes, I forgot about
that's cool for us because that's back to the future, and that's where it started before it went to pay, and that's been part of our plan to make sure that everybody could watch it, and you know, or on a device and watch it on demand as well. So I'm in the studio that TVNZ has built. I've just been in there this morning. It's cool. So it's going to be a great coverage, and with COVID to the international media, this is now unbeknown to us when we set on this free-to-air path around the world. Now it's even better for showcasing New Zealand because right now you can't come here, as we all know.
You can do my job. I've completely forgot about us hosting, etc.
I thought that was a terrific interview. Let's stop there, Julie, because I think that we have a lot of comments, don't we? And unpack some of the comments from what I think was the most revealing piece of video I've seen in this whole, well, at least in this immediate lead up. Maybe we saw some stuff months or even a year ago, but like him or not, Grant Dalton is tough and strong, articulate, and he says what he means and means what he says, and he tweaks people. He said, "Oh yeah, we're all going to bring our A game." Yeah, right. They're going to have especially on ETNZ, they're going to have a real strong grip on the handbrake if and when they get along. And of course, you've all heard, perhaps, and we're going to tell you about it in a moment, about New York Yacht Club's American Magic winning their race against ETNZ today, the 15th. It's now the 16th down there. And do you think that ETNZ didn't have the handbrake on, Julia, down there? Huh? Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. We'll see.
I think it would be fun if they didn't, and it means we're in for a horse race.
Well, Phil, look at all these comments. One here's Jody Stingray saying, Jody Shields, one here's the toilet is flushing the wrong direction, too, because they're talking about Ineos and all the problems they're having. And, of course, not only did Magnus Wheatley, who was on our show on Friday, write that article, and then he came on, and so many people saw him here on this show, including and especially Kiwis. I think we gave him a pretty good boost for his Rule 69 blog, which I'm happy to do because he, as you said last night, he's a terrific writer.
He is.
And he writes strong stuff, strongly positive stuff.
Yep.
And he also is not afraid to say strongly negative stuff if that's what he in his heart feels is the case.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's look at all these comments. And hello to all of you. I can't even begin to recognize because there's so many people on here.
I have just a historical note. Jose Alexandra Pinto Ferreira says the first sailor to cross the Cape Good Hope was Cabo das Tormentas, was Bartholomew Diaz in 1488.
Great. Okay, and that's what I saw this morning. You said Magellan, and I think Magellan was the first to circumnavigate, or maybe, but the Portuguese. We need a Portuguese America's Cup challenge because they've got this great seafaring history.
They do,
and they're a great sailing nation. And the number of times we've done events in Cascais and wherever else, and the Brazilians as well. And speaking of Portuguese language, but the Brazilians and the Grail family and all the other great sailors from down there in Brazil. Too bad. Stingray, the presser ran smoothly on Facebook too. Yeah, I saw it here on my computer. It was running smoothly, but now it's been geo-blocked or it's been it's a copyright strike or whatever. I'm currently getting the same test screen in Denmark. Gordon Smith is saying, yep. But Paul Homchick is saying, he's confirming what I said. Press conference was a snooze. Stingray, you watched the whole thing, as did apparently Paul. Tell me if that's not correct. The full press conference is available for replay on the AC Facebook page. Well, Gareth Evans, thanks for that. But I am on. Okay, I'll next video. I'll go try to look it up and see if we can get it. At least get a flavor, get a feel for the press conference and for Bruno Truble being there and so on. How will the Kiwis handle people who've received the vaccine?
Yes.
What do you think, Julia? Will they just let them through?
We haven't heard.
I don't know. Somebody down there maybe can tell us. We get Hamish Ross to tell us. I'm assuming they'll put them in the 2 weeks quarantine until there's some kind of a vaccine passport. Is that what they're calling it?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Good question. Okay. It's currently the same as everyone else, Gordon Smith is saying. Okay. The video is found. Matthias Collins, which video? Is that the press conference, Matthias? Because I can't see it here. I'll go have another look again. It says 1,600 views. But here's what I get. The video is private. Video unavailable. So maybe it's geo-blocked here in the U.S. because NBC wants to run it as part of their show tomorrow night. Mm-hmm. Maybe that is the problem. How about these other comments, Julia? Fabian Harrelson, GD, Grant Dalton is hot for the, for the reporter.
I know. Poor Grant.
I didn't think he was. And then what was Gordon Smith said, the reporter's hands frighten me and I'm 13,000 miles away. What does that mean, Gordon? Her hands?
I
thought her hands looked okay. The white fingernail polish, or I thought she was superb.
Yeah, she was.
I thought she was superb. Who else here, Julia?
Jody Shields says, I hear the problem with the GB boat is that the hydraulic system is running the wrong way. It's designed for the northern hemisphere.
Okay, so that's that whole back and forth about the toilet and the gurgling down the toilet. Mm-hmm. Even this reporter is dragging the Brits, Jeff Ogle is saying. John Mangino saying, Live, Sail, Die had a very good video of the practice races. Guess what? My next video is, John. We'll have that in a moment. Bobby Steele, Bob, lack of social media global coverage should be more than disappointing return on investment for the major sponsors is not rocket science, i.e., yeah, and Bobby's been saying this, i.e., the World Surf League and Formula One. It's free to air now these days, just about everywhere. And it is, I'm not sure that's strictly true about F1, Bobby, but it is really a shame that here in the U.S., they've sold this to NBC, and now NBC's trying. And I went on the NBC. I could go on there. Let me get that while we're talking about it. I'll tee that up in the next video as well. But I went on their website. You did too, right? Last night?
Yeah.
Didn't we? Weren't you upstairs looking at that when we were talking?
Yes.
And it's they have a pass for this whole bunch of sports. So they call it their sports passes.
Mm-hmm.
And they were $9.99 and $49.99 and yeah. The America's Cup $175.99.
Oh yeah, that's because we're all billionaires.
The big hitters.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm.
Well, that was indeed disappointing. I agree with GD. Teams, Stingray, I'm not so sure. Teams will bring their A game because why not? It's a measure of only this stage of development. I think they'll bring their A game until they get ahead, and then they'll put the handbrake on. Or they may purposely put the handbrake on if they're convinced after 2 or 3 days of racing that they've got a good advantage, that they have some kind of an advantage. They may then put the handbrake on from the get-go, from before the start of the race, to let someone else win. But we'll see. In the past, whenever we've predicted, people say, oh, well, there's going to be sandbagging and yada, yada, in a series that doesn't count for much other than bragging rights. The sailors do show up. The sailors, testosterone and adrenaline and everything competitive nature kicks in, and away they go. So we shall see in due course. Sledging in, and Gordon's a big fanboy, big fan of Ineos Team UK, and he's saying sledging Ineos is just fine, rather tells you where the perceived threat is. Not so sure that's true, Gordon. You and I have been back and forth on this, but it's, I echo what Magnus Wheatley said on Friday. I'm the first person to tell you that I hope Ineos is fit as a fiddle. I hope they're really, really good. I hope all three challengers are strongly competitive. Because the only way one of those challengers is going to beat ETNZ is what? That they're all good and competitive, and they have a complete and tough, hard thrash.
And one surprise that we don't know about.
What's that?
Well, he says he was waiting for the boats to pull out one surprise.
Oh, exactly. We've been talking about and I was mixing metaphors on, when I did an interview with somebody, the arrow in the quiver, and it's an old sports metaphor. There's another arrow in the quiver, and I'm sure the teams, I think Dalton is right, they will pull out that surprise. Tom Burnham, hello, Tom, welcome to you. Nice to have you on. Talk about a great sailor. Ian Murray said today, this is Stingray, said today that conditions will be great for tomorrow, southwest in 12 to 14 knots. I guess the weather forecast for the rest of the week is basically fine. And some nice breeze, southwesterly breeze.
That'd be great.
So that would be great. Yeah, the Homchick is agreeing that video that we've just been looking at was a lot more interesting than the opening press conference.
Mm-hmm.
I did see that guy in the yellow shirt, Francesco Longanese. You've maybe seen in a couple of these videos, and you would have seen if you saw the press conference. Francesco Longanese, long nose in Italian, is a class act. He has been the spokesperson for Prada since they got involved in the Cup in 80. He was the Formula One, what was his formal title when I was in Formula One back at the turn of this century? Francesco was the head of the press corps, the press operation for F1, for FIA. He's been around for a long time. He is exceedingly bright. He speaks 3 or 4, maybe 5 languages, thoughtful, and one of the great guys like Bruno Trublet in the modern history of the Cup. And you will see him speaking for Patrizio Bertelli a lot on behalf of Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli.
I love listening to his voice and accent.
You heard it when we were doing trying to get on the air in our 15-minute delay, and you could hear him. He talked a little bit during the press conference. Francesco Longanese. Better, his nickname is Pimply, not like the American pimples or anything, but Pimply. Our Italian friends can explain that better than I.
Mm.
He was also, by the way, Francesco Longanese. They Catani, I think is his the rest of his name, family name, was the ADC, the aide-de-camp, for the late, great Prince Rainier.
Oh, was he?
And planned, among other things, the funeral for Princess Grace.
Wow.
Yeah, the guy is a cool dude.
Yeah, he's very,
Been around.
He is.
Wasn't Norm Dame Edna ever? I don't know if that's true, but Norm is the guy with the white gloves now that's looking after the cup, one of the guys. Peter Taylor, Sir Norm, and Tom Fishbeck. Is that true that Norm, the Kiwi ETNZ? I don't know about that. Burling today, Stingray saying, Burling attributed Magic's win to better tactics, but AM found the better pressure in shifts. Said AM, American Magic, in that race that they won, which was today, Tuesday the 15th, in New Zealand, of course. Again, it's Wednesday down there now. Great sailing, Portugal, sail country, small country, though similar population to the Netherlands. Well, there's another country that if the cup were regularized, if it were not quite so bloody expensive, and if we rebalance the technology and teamwork aspect more, not all the way back to 12s, not all the way back to the IACC boats, but something that is more rational than what we're seeing now. I mean, these boats are fantastic. And I'm as impressed or more than probably any of you about how well they're sailing and how well the teams are sailing them. The Brits aside, who had to tow into the pre-start area when they fell off the foils and couldn't get foiling again in the light air. Tucker Thompson, who's been the voice of the America's Cup at least the last couple, is on. Hello. Francesco Catabati. No, a Prado was really fun to watch. He's goal. Yeah, Stingray, that's an older comment. Yeah, Catani. Francesco Longanese is what we all know him as. Pimply. Clark Chapin, I can foresee some kind of handbrake race where two boats each keep slowing up progressively until I almost stop. No, I don't think that's going to happen. Oh, the hand tattoo, Fabian Harrelson is saying. Did she have a tattoo on her hand? Was it a Maori tattoo or what was it? I couldn't see that.
I haven't seen it.
Okay. The press conference, there's another link. I'll go ahead, try. Matthias, thanks for that. I'll go try to have a look on their Facebook.com. Hello, Gerardo Seeliger, who sent a picture I'm going to play here at the end of the show. Live, Sail, Die had great. Yeah, we're going to, Andrew, Dolly DeVola, we're going to play that video next. I just want to see if there's any other pressing comments. There were a lot of clever comments coming out of that Dalton interview. Couldn't agree more. The whole point in my mind is that they don't race the Challenger. Yeah. Okay. I've gotten through most of those. Russell Milner. There's a lot of new names on here. Thanks to all of you who've joined us. We're an hour and 20 in for today's TFE Live. And without further ado, let me get to this video that is, again, a longish video. It's Chris Steele and Cam Dunn out on the water with Live, Sail, Die. And Live, Sail, Die is doing a terrific job of covering the racing. They're out. They've got some sponsors. I'm happy to give their sponsors some coverage because they're getting out on the water on a boat. It's not cheap. They got to pay the guys. They got to edit the video. They got to put it up on their YouTube page. Live, Sail, Die. Have a look at this.
Okay, hi, I'm Cameron Dunn and this is Chris Steele for Live, Sail, Die out here on Course A today for the America's Cup practice day. Today, these sponsors bring us this action. B&G, Yacht Share, Marine Concierge, Busfield Marine Brokers, Brandit Kiwi and Hyundai New Zealand. Without these people, we wouldn't be able to bring you this coverage, so please support those who support us. So Chris Steele, we've been out watching a bit of completely different conditions that we've seen the last couple of days. Certainly low end, bottom range of the conditions for these America's Cup boats. Can't say it was the most exciting days of yachting I've ever seen. What did you think of the action today?
Yeah, like you said, it was really interesting. Lower end of the wind range. We probably saw 8, maybe 10 knots at times, but then backing right back off to around sort of 6 knot mark, which is obviously the lower end of the wind range and minimum for them to be able to sail. We got to see 2 reasonably good kind of races, or 1.5 anyway, and it was the first proper match that we got to see was American Magic against the Italians, Luna Rossa. And yeah, I thought they both looked pretty good. It was probably the breezier end of the wind that we had today, maybe 8 to 10 knots at times for that race, and it was the Americans that got off the start line probably slightly better, but the Italians were able to hold them out to the boundary and then put in a pretty nice lee bow attack, and from there they kind of squeezed off the Americans on that port drag race, and then yeah, the two, but I think it was the Americans tacking back, and they kind of split for a little bit, and that kind of got them back into the match, and looked like the Americans were showing reasonably good top straight line speed, but the Italians had a click over them in the manoeuvres, so maybe the control systems or slightly bigger foils, it looked like they were able to keep the boat foiling around the track a little bit better, but I thought the Americans looked quite fast, particularly downwind. They were able to close it up.
They closed up on them a bit downwind, didn't they? I think the top mark delta was about 20 seconds to the Italians. You know, as you said, they controlled them from that first intersection, the first meeting, which is going to be a key part of these races. You know, if the windward boat can control the race out to that boundary, it's going to be pretty hard for the guy down to leeward to do much. And it's going to be all about minimising your losses from there on and being able to attack on the run, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it sort of seems like they've only got maybe a minute of sailing on starboard after the start before they get to that boundary, and so I think that wide right start's going to be super powerful. If you can just hold in there and make sure you don't get squeezed off before the boundary, your next tack, if you stick your tack and it's a good one, then you've got a pretty good lane there to try and squeeze off what was the leeward boat, now the windward boat. So I think it certainly seems like that's what the teams maybe are kind of angling towards.
Yeah, and I think as we saw down that second run, or the first run, the second leg, the Americans got hooked into some nice pressure. Definitely closed down on Prada on the downwind. The delta at the bottom was sort of 15 seconds, but it was actually realistically a little closer than that. But Americans got the wrong gate mark at the bottom. You know, good work from Luna Rossa, picked the correct gate, and then they really extended out of the gate and smoked away up the bead. And the next time we saw them at the bottom of the second run, it was a good 40-second lead, very comfortable for Luna Rossa, so they stretched away on that second beat. The other race we saw sort of two attempted pre-starts with Team New Zealand and Ineos Team UK. Early on, very, very light conditions. Ineos didn't actually even try and pre-start. They just towed into the starter on the foils and went for a bit of a lineup. The race was stopped later on for not enough breeze. And then later on, they were definitely looked better conditions. And yet again, though, you know, Team New Zealand entered nicely on port. Ineos came in on starboard and couldn't stick their first jibe, fell off the foils and race over.
Yeah, it certainly seemed like, you know, under that sort of 8-knot range, they were struggling to take off. You know, they used the chase boat to tow them into that first pre-start, like you said, Cam, and we got to see a little glimpse of a lineup between them and the Kiwis on starboard, and it didn't look overly obvious either way that there was a speed advantage. Yeah. Which I thought was kind of interesting. I mean, albeit they did get towed into the start line on the foil, probably a lot faster than they would have been able to, or if even able to get up on the foil at one point. But they got to that first boundary and again went into the tack, and actually the Kiwis kind of semi-touched down in the tack. It was a bit of a touch and go tack, and the Brits just fell off the foil and they couldn't get back up again. And so we actually got to see a little bit of a monohull non-foiling match race for a while there, so the purists would be pretty excited about that. And they were just sailing along kind of upwind, not going very fast, but not even trying to foil for the first sort of half of that beat. And then the Kiwis kind of got up and went for one hitch out, and the Brits couldn't get up, and then the race was called off. So yeah, I mean, where I sort of got to with that is if it is over that 8-knot range, I think the boats, you know, all seem like it could be quite close in these conditions, that 8 to 10 knot range. Certainly if it's 10 to maybe 12, but under 8 knots, it seems very sticky, and there's definitely a few people that are struggling to get the boats out of the water.
Yeah, and there was no sign of the code zero today. You know, there's been a lot of chat and videos posted about, you know, the teams out there using the code zero. You know, I think from what I would think after watching today was we can safely assume we won't see the Code Zero. There was no sign of them today, and this would have been perfect conditions because the teams were struggling to keep up on the foils. So I don't think they may have been ticked that one off the list.
Yeah, well, it's such a tough one though, isn't it? Because obviously we were talking about it while they were racing, and when they weren't able to get up, you're sitting there saying, oh, it'd be nice to have it out right now, but you get caught out from the wind range so quickly. You only need it to get to, we're guessing maybe 8 or 9 knots, and then all of a sudden that sail is just so draggy, and the trade-off becomes, a real sort of a pain. And if the other boat can get up on the foil and you're dragging around a Code Zero and they're not, it's going to be pretty convincing that how quickly the delta would change. But yeah, I mean, it's right on that crosser. I think it'd be a big call to pull it out, and it might work, but you're chancing around with that little 2-knot wind range.
So overall today, from a performance-wise, I thought again, we've seen Team New Zealand look very strong in the breeze. They looked good again in the light air. I think Prada, looked very good as well. Looked like they could manoeuvre pretty well in the light air. Americans, not bad either. They certainly were, probably as far as manoeuvring and reliability out of the moves, they were all very close. But Ineos were really struggling. I don't think I ever saw them do a successful tack or jibe today, certainly not in the racing, which will be very disappointing for them. Whether they had some issues, who knows. What surprised me a little bit, I guess, or pleased me, was to see, I thought Team New Zealand did the most sailing around between races and practicing. They seemed to practice their takeoffs a lot, practice their manoeuvres. American Magic also did quite a lot of sailing around between races. But the other two didn't do a lot, which is either a sign that they just think it's a wasting their time, they can't do it, or they've had some other issues going on behind the scenes. But I thought it was a good sign for both Team New Zealand and American Magic that they're out there trying to practice in these marginal conditions.
Yeah, and I think as well what comes into it is obviously this is the second to last day of the practice racing before the Christmas Cup, and for Team New Zealand, this is their last sort of week of sailing against the other teams officially, and then they're going to have that sort of 2-month break before they get a line up again. So I think that certainly probably plays into the fact that we saw them sailing so much out here today. They're going to try and maximise the time. They're still out here at the moment. They're the only boat still out here sailing around, and it is very light, but I think from what we saw in that sort of racing right there, all the teams are struggling to take off in that 6 to 8 knot range. And if you can figure out how to do it slightly better than the guy you're racing, then obviously, it's going to add up to massive gains around the racetrack. And in conditions like today, you would have lapped the other boat easily if you could keep it on the foil and the other team couldn't.
So tough conditions for the race committee, tough conditions for the team. But I think it'll be a good learning. It looks like a pretty similar forecast for a lot of this week, heading into the Christmas Cup. So good learnings for everybody.
And great stuff. Bravo Zulu to Cam and Chris. I've done maybe three America's Cup campaigns with Cam Dunn. So we've gotten to know. I don't know Chris very well, but Bravo Zulu, live, sail, die. Bravo Zulu indeed. Nice stuff, and keep it coming. And we will always play it. And we've had a back and forth even now from Live, Sail, Die, who said, thanks, Tom and Julia. Appreciate the acknowledgement of our sponsors.
There are other comments. Bob Steele says, Live, Sail, Die is awesome. Stingray says, LSD is my new favorite drug. And replying to Stingray, Live, Sail, Die has been our preferred for 15 years. And then replying to Stingray, Gareth Evans says, LSD, pounds, shillings, and pence.
Pounds, shillings, and pence. LSD. Okay, I get it. João Alexander Pinto Ferreira. Don't know if this has been discussed before. What do you think about the consequences to each team that the previous venues, the previous America's Cup World Series that were supposed to be held earlier this year, both in Cagliari in Sardinia, Italy, that was to be in what, April was it? And then there was early June was to be in Portsmouth in the UK at Sir Ben's home base, the first one at Alinghi. Thinking about Alinghi as the next challenger record. We'll tell you about that. The first regatta in Sardinia, obviously at the team base of Luna Rossa Prata Pirelli, and then in Plymouth at Ben's base in June. Those didn't happen because of the chronic COVID pandemic. I don't know. I think that you can't help but learn when you race. When you sail, more time on the water, you sail against your opposition. Everybody will learn. I think it would have helped the challengers. However, remember, they didn't splash their B2s until just in the past couple months now. And until they got their B2s on the water and they got those tuned up, and everybody's been on the water in New Zealand with those, I'm not sure that other stuff would have made any huge differences, Julia.
Yeah. Paul Humchick says, it's a slap at tradition that the challengers race the Defender before the Cup. I don't like it. And Gordon Smith replied, couldn't agree more. The whole point, in my mind, is that they don't race the Challenger.
Yeah, okay.
And Chapin says, yes, but having a preliminary event builds interest in the main event, which is good. Unfortunately, the only way the Defender would agree to these things is when they got to race 2.
Well, exactly, and that's been the problem in the one boat era since we've been limiting boats. Perhaps the better formulation was the Perth formula, which had and we did the same in San Diego in 92 and 95. We had 1 year before the event, we had a world championship, people sailing old boats, everybody sailed together, the challengers and the Defender, and multiple Defenders in the case of Perth Rio, and that was it was a fleet race, and everybody got to bring their sponsors there and their supporters, and it was good. It was fun, and there was lots of promotion as a result. Then you got serious and had the trials, and there was no more racing after that World Championship 1 year before the event. But maybe next time that's how the thing will be run. I think there's a lot of sentiment toward not having the Challenger and the Defender race against each other or even hook up with each other unless and until they're in the match, in the finals. Yeah. Anything else?
Jeff Eklund says it's bad luck to win the practice pre-regatta.
Yeah, true. But it might be better luck to dominate it. Will Schreiner. Bloody hell. Hello, Will. I haven't seen you since the Lauderdale Yacht Club. Must have been, 6-7 years ago. I did a talk down there for the America's Cup. Will Schreiner, who's a comedian and a television host and I think a movie star too, and it has a Lauderdale Yacht Club member, and he was there that night. It was a lot of fun, and it's great to see you, Will. Hey, Tom, looks like we're going to see some excitement in the upcoming races. I think you're right, Will. I certainly hope so, and I repeat again, I'd love to see, as would Magnus Wheatley, we'd love to see the Brits up to speed, and we'd love to see the challengers having a real thrash in January, February, so one of them is well enough prepared to meet credibly and ideally beat the Defender, ETNZ.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, let's go to the Rule 69 blog, Magnus Wheatley's just recently renewed blog, because he's taken a 7 or 8 year hiatus while he made money in the city, in London City. And his post today, he called Magic, and it was about the racing on Tuesday the 15th down there between ETNZ and New York Yacht Club's American Magic. Magnus said, if New York City wasn't facing a new COVID lockdown right now, the bar at West 44th Street would be full. Scotch would be ordered. Maybe Mount Gay rum. Tales would be told. Whispers would be whispered. The New York Yacht Club patrons would be toasting a truly great day out on the water for Terry Hutchinson's team and starting to dream the impossible. Could the Aldmog be coming back? This is the magic of the Cup. A bit like the soccer equivalent, it's the hope that kills. But it's great when your team does the business and starts to repay both the emotional and physical investment, to say nothing of the financial investment, made by everyone close. Down in Auckland, American Magic will be buzzing tonight. Terry will be beaming. A wry Kiwi smile will be etched on Dino's granite face. He is a great writer, isn't he, Julia?
He is.
Huh?
Yeah,
He's
he is.
fun to read.
Yes.
The shore team might have a beer after packing the boat away. Texts will be landing from mates. Parents will be proud. Momentum picks up. Washing the boat down is a joy. Stripping that winch is a pleasure. Knee deep in hydraulic oil? ? No problem. I'll do that. The team comes together after a day like New York Yacht Club's American Magic had, or thinks they had, depending upon whether ETN said how much of the handbrake they had. He goes on. Magnus carries on, and so it should do. So it should do. Team Barker just hauled American Magic to victory over Team New Zealand. That doesn't and won't happen very often. He also put the dog-slow Brits to the sword, admittedly after a Ben masterclass in the pre-start, but that's largely irrelevant at the moment. Dean Barker totally outsailed the Kiwis and the Brits today, totally. It was encouraging to watch, and what really struck me is that tactics actually meant something. The drive by the America's Cup to introduce dragsters has largely negated the tactics that we Corinthian sailors, Julia.
Yes.
Magnus!
Never mind.
Never mind. That us Corinthian sailors know sailing to be. Cup sailing is another world to what we weekend, there you got the we right, us weekend sailors pretend to understand and fail at most time we go yachting. It's all about the aerodynamics, lift, flight, and forces, and let's be honest, most of us were asleep at the back of the class during those compulsory physics lessons. A bit like the wind, most of that stuff whistles over our heads.
Oh, what good words.
Huh?
Yes, he's wonderful.
He's wonderful.
Yeah.
And there's more. But tactics, wind shifts, calling the breeze. Wow, I thought the Cup had consigned these dark arts to Fremantle in 1987 or Newport in 83. But today, well, come on, Valencia 2007, we had match racing, good match racing. And certainly in San Diego in 92 and 95. But today they were back, and American Magic called both the shifts and the breeze to perfection. It's just fantastic for them. And whilst the rest of the world waits for a shot in the arm of a different kind, clever.
Mm-hmm.
Clever, Magnus. The Magic team just got theirs, and boy, must it feel good. Congratulations, guys. Thanks to Scotty for giving me access to the American Magic press area. I assume, I assume that means Scott McLeod. Mm-hmm. Great photos, courtesy of the team and dudes at Sailing Energy, and that is true as well. So there's a good piece updating you on what happened today, Tuesday, in New Zealand, the final day of practice racing. Here is our new friend, and I've been using his stuff. This is Gerald New from sailweb.co.uk. America's Cup final day of practice now for the real thing. And Gerald summed the whole thing up thus, which I thought was a very good summary. These practice sessions were mainly to allow the race management to test their race and media procedures ahead of the America's Cup World Series / Christmas Cup race series. The racing, while interesting, as the first meeting, the Defender and the Challengers has been something of a damp squib. Although it might have given the Ineos team some food for thought, ! It is all eyes down for the real-ish, well, we'll see how real, but good point, real-ish thing with the World Series racing starting on Thursday, 17 December, when Ineos Team UK will face American Magic in the second race on day one. And then Luna Rossa in race 3. There's, of course, Gerald New, who's a UK media outlet. Good one. Website. Although there is nothing really at stake in the World Series Christmas Cup, a good performance would settle the nerves of the British AC teams, badly spooked by the problems of the past week and a growing feeling that it is beginning to look like a rerun of Bermuda. So says Gerald New, who's also a good journalist, sailweb.co.uk. I commend that to you as well. Now for a little bit of more video to help wrap this up. This is the advice to the punters in their boats, which I think you will find interesting, and it's another beautiful video of these fabulous-looking boats.
Hi guys, Glenn Ashby here from Emirates Team New Zealand. We're very much looking forward to everybody getting out on the water and watching. Safety is obviously a big priority for us, as it should be for you guys as well. There's not too many yachts that can do close to 100 kilometres an hour, and we can often do quite unpredictable things on the water. We very much look at the spectators out there as sort of stationary objects. We very much prefer that you guys don't turn or do anything to try and avoid us. We will always try and avoid you. So one of the big things, there'll be some outer boundary limit markers and also some boundary boats. Keep an eye out for those guys. They will let you know where you can and can't go.
So there's Glenn out on the boat, ripping around, as he said, going really, really fast. So don't be an egg. Make sure you stay outside the boundary. The spectator boundaries are identified by orange marker buoys, which form a rectangle around the racecourse. Each corner of the racecourse has a yacht with a long cylinder mark on the mast, which show the four corners of the spectator boundary.
We want you guys out there. We want you supporting us, absolutely. But we want everyone to be safe. So I look forward to seeing you all out there for a fantastic summer of sailing here on the Waitemata.
Waitemata. Nice video. Glenn Ashby, you are the best. The AC-32 World Series, Stingray is saying, was perfect. It was all in boat ones. The Defender Alinghi didn't meet the boat twos until the match. Yep. Anyone got an address for this site? Which site? Live, Sail, Die? Just Google it. livesaildie.co.nz. I don't know what it is, but as Andrew Pindar said, a big shout out to Sue and Hurling of LSD. They're funding that, putting some money, getting some sponsors. Great. See my comment above. We'd like to see her on camera, too. She is doing an awesome job. And a Bohemian. I wonder who he means by as a Bohemian. Who is... Dick Anderson's telling us that somebody here that's been mentioned in the comments is a member of the Bohemian Club. But thank you for that, Dick. Any other comments, Julia?
John Mangino says the answer to opening the bar, you need only to have a wedding each day.
Good article, Magnus. That's from Don Lunabos. Yeah, Corey Sertle. Hello, Madam President. Congrats to your election as a World Sailing Vice President. She's President of U.S. Sailing, and she is also now a VP of World Sailing, hoping that she will help get that organization back on track financially and otherwise. Susan Yeomans is watching.
Oh,
Julia.
is she?
That's nice.
That's nice.
Don't be an egg. No, Rule 69 blog address. How about a 3D printed M2? Okay, Clark. I searched for it on Friday. Kirk, I predict. I don't know. Maybe LSD doesn't have. Are we going to call them LSD? I don't know. Did you ever do LSD in college?
No.
I didn't either. I'm glad I didn't.
I was about to, and I had a MD talk me out of it and sit my entire staff down and talk them out of it. And in about 1967.
Well, I never did either, and probably some of you watching think we did, or I did anyway, and I'm having flashbacks sometimes to Curtonicism. What else here? Yeah, it's okay. There, Clark's found at rule69blog.wordpress.com, but it's mostly a video outlet, which is the way of the world today, and they have a great YouTube channel. Live, Sail, Die, YouTube. Pistol Pete will keep his powder dry. Andrew Dolly DeVola talking about Pete Burling. Let's predict tomorrow's races. We're going to do that. But first, let me have a look at, let's have a look, take you, and thanks to several of you who sent this is on their Facebook. Send us this link on the America's Cup Facebook page. Again, all you have to do is Google America's Cup Facebook, and it pops right up, just like us now. And by the way, Facebook has become, Julie, I don't know if you've noticed this, but when I do all the settings and clicking to get us live, and when I set up the announcement of the live in due course, what they call scheduled live, as they call that, there is a setting that says, should this live be open to everybody, or should it be open only to Facebook members? So finally, Facebook have recognized.
I didn't see that. Yeah.
Finally, when I'm setting it up, you wouldn't have seen the click, but that is great news, because now it's quite clear that anybody can go watch it without having a Facebook account. And no, they won't. I don't think you'll get hassled about join now and
that'd be good.
All that stuff we used to see. But let's go back now. Here's the press conference. I've edited out the first couple minutes of it, and we'll go have a look at it. get some audio up as Bruno Troublé has walked across the stage. And is going to introduce the other people. Not many people, obviously, in the press conference area. Bruno's going back to the green room and saying, hey, come on, guys, let's go. Where the hell are you? Okay, now we got a whole thread going on about LSD, Julia.
I know.
Was Alice in Wonderland written on LSD? Here comes Ian Murray, the regatta director, doing his, third cup? He did, as the regatta director, he did 13. There's Pete Burling, obviously. I guess that's obvious. Terry Hutchinson. This is the kind of thing we'll be doing tomorrow night when we do our watch party. We won't have the video, but we'll be talking over. There's Ben Ainsley, second from the left, Ian Murray on the far left. And on the far right in the yellow shirt, we cut to him, is Francesco Longanese.
This opening press conference organized here at the Prada Media Center in Auckland. Good morning to you here in this room. Good evening to you in Europe. Good night to you in America, if anyone is connected. I would like to introduce the participants. First to my left is Ian Murray, the race director. Second is Sir Ben Ainsley from Ineos Team UK. Then Peter Burling from Emirates Team New Zealand. Max Sirena from Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli. Terry Hutchinson from American Magic. Tina Simmons from ACE. She's the lady chair of ACE America's Cup events. The race organizers together with Core 36. Extreme right is Francesco Longanesi Catani, who represents the CEO of the Prada Group, Patrizio Bertelli. I will ask a few questions to all of you on stage. Then I will take questions from the floor. And then we will answer those connected through Zoom. May I remind you that we will take questions only related to the racing. And I will ask you to switch off your phones and don't use flash. So Ian, you are extremely respected. You have been America's Cup skipper. You have been world champion on 18-foot skiff many times. You are the most experienced race director. What is your feeling on the eve of the first Prada Cup race, Prada race? You want me to stand up? What? Yes. Oh no, you can stay seated.
Look, AC36 is going to be a remarkable event. You know, we have these 4 teams with these incredible boats, and having been up close to these boats and watching, you know, some of the practice racings, you know, some have been close, some have been a bit far apart, but that's what it's all about. But the match racing some of the match racing I saw yesterday, I think is what the America's Cup history is looking for. You know, we are looking for fair and proper racing in the greatest technology boats representing their countries. And from what I've seen of the little bit of racing so far is that these boats are capable of producing that. So for me, as coming up through technology classes, seeing these boats evolve, I think we're in for something quite special. So we're looking forward to it, Bruno.
Thank you. Can you explain the diamond system which protects the boats from collisions?
The diamond system, well, that's an overlay in the, in the digital world. So it puts a boundary around the boats. Obviously, these boats, with their wings out, have some pretty, appendages sitting out there that, in the wrong time could, do a lot of damage. So they're out there as part of the diamond surrounds the boats to give some protection. Likewise, the marks have a 7-metre radius ring around them to, give the boats some guidance as to how close they actually need to go to the boat. So we have a lot of lines on the course in the boundaries as well as protection zones, boundaries, and that's all part of the digital concept, which everyone sees on TV, but not necessarily on the water, to look after the rules, regulations, and safety of the boats.
Thank you.
I'm going to let this run, unless you all say, okay, enough is enough, but I think we should at least listen to the first question of each skipper.
And hopefully that will be a nice place to sail down there on Course C.
Thank you. Sir Ben, I will repeat it again, but you are the most impressive skipper of all after winning so much metal at the Olympics over 20 years. You won the Cup in 2013. You are old to need your boat, but are you still working hard on Britannia?
Yeah, we're working very hard, like all of the other teams, just going through this practice in the build-up to this World Series event. It's been fascinating to get out and evaluate the performances. And clearly we're struggling a little bit in the lighter airs at the moment, so that's our big focus. And then, as Ian said, it'll be interesting. We're going to race tomorrow. The breeze should be a little bit stronger, so it'll be interesting to see how the performances stack up then.
What are the areas of improvements? What are the areas? Foils?
There's a lot to it. There's a lot that goes into these boats. Obviously, they're incredibly technical, and it's not just any one area of the boat that you got to work on. It's the whole package, and so that's a big, like I said, it's a big focus for us.
What conditions will be best for you?
Well, right now the stronger winds are definitely better for us. I think it's pretty clear for everyone to see we're struggling a little bit in the lighter airs taking off, and some of the manoeuvres. But that's just part. This is it's a new class of boat. It's development class, and you kind of see that.
Okay, I'll let this go for one response from each skipper, and then we'll get off this because it's not wonderful.
We've got a bit of catching up to do.
Your team principal had a chance to sail with you in Cagliari. Did he like it?
Yeah, Jim Ratcliffe came sailing. We were training down in Cagliari in the build-up to the World Series event, which sadly never happened due to COVID. But Jim came down and came for a sail with us. He just thought the boat was incredible. He's done a bit of sailing in his time, but never on a boat like that, and he was completely blown away. He thought it was awesome.
Do you think that club sailors like us will be ever invited on those boats or similar boats in the future?
That's a good question. I'd be interested what the other guys here think. They're certainly not the kind of boat that you take people out for a joyride. They're full on, but they are incredibly exciting. And I think for a very privileged few, and for us as sailors who get to sail on these boats day in, day out, it is an amazing experience. They're incredibly powerful. The performance is particularly on the upwind legs. The performance is unbelievable. So they're cool boats.
Will you sail again in the Olympics after winning 6 medals, or is this part of your sailing life over?
I really don't think so. London 2012 was the last Olympics I sailed in, and that was just to sail in front of a home crowd like that, once in a lifetime opportunity. And actually, Pete and I were at a function the other night, and I was asking him his view on the classes moving forwards, because as we're going more into foiling boats, should that be more prevalent in the Olympics? And so I don't think I'm going to be back in the Olympics. The focus is the America's Cup.
Thank you, Sir Ben. Peter Berling, most of the early practice legs appear to be in your favor. You don't seem to be slow. Can you confirm, Peter?
Yeah, well, I think all the teams here have their strengths.
Okay, I have to agree with Andrew Pindar. This is some of you've seen this already, and this is getting to be
things we're trying to work on and improve on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's been.
What do you think, Julia?
Yeah, I don't think we're learning anything.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to learn anything, and we've probably already covered this. And you, for sure, if you do want to watch the whole thing, you can go back and watch it in replay. Well, this is replay on their Facebook page. Just Google America's Cup Facebook, and it'll take you right there, and you can see all of this. Okay, let's turn this down and go to the format. We've shown you this slide in each of the previous shows, but just for those of you who maybe have not seen it, this is the format. On the left in the white is the round-robin stages on the 17th, 18th, and 19th of December. Each team races each of the other teams twice. And the first day, it's ETNZ against Luna Rossa, and then American Magic versus Ineos. So you've got the challenger record and defender, and then you've got the other two challengers. And then in the third and fourth race on day one is Ineos against Luna Rossa and American Magic against ETNZ. Now, day two is interesting, especially for the Brits, because the way they do this is race 5 is Luna Rossa and American Magic, of course, but then race 6 is ETNZ against Ineos, and then they turn around and again, because the way modern match racing series are done is you do against team A, B, and C as your opponents in your first three races. Then they reverse the order, and you race C, B, A in the second phase of a double round robin. So Ineos on day 2 will be racing, as you see there, if you can make that out, will be racing Luna Rossa. Sorry, Ineos will be racing ETNZ twice on day 2. So that'll be interesting, particularly interesting for fans of the British team, maybe even New Zealand. Nonetheless, two complete rounds robin over 3 days, each of the teams racing each of the other 3 teams twice. Then the top teams on points, and normally wins, you get a point for a win, but if the umpires could also deduct or add points depending if there's a penalty. So sometimes there's a partial point as well, but the top team will go into this. Let me go here to my top team goes into the semifinals, A against D. So there's no picking your opponent. And the second and third place teams will go into this other race. It's a single race knockout in the semifinals. This is on day 4, on the 20th down there, the 19th up here. And then the winners of those semifinals go into the finals, and the losers go down into that bracket down below, the consolation bracket, and the winner of that will be third, and the loser will be fourth. And that's over the next 4 days. And we will, at least tomorrow night, let's see how it goes tomorrow night, Julie. What do you think? We'll do a watch party tomorrow night. Now, we can't show the video, but maybe we'll see some video coming out of New Zealand from Live, Sail, Die, maybe from some of the other videographers. Then we'll be able to carry that, and we'll be able to talk to the live show coming both to NBC and also on the, we'll have a VPN so we can watch the world feed on YouTube or on whatever on their sailing, their Facebook page, and talk to it and have all of you as a community and chipping in your comments, so you won't have any of the crutonicism, name calling, and that you see on some of the other sites that might be watching it as a group, or at least one site in particular. Okay, so that's the World Series, Auckland, and the Christmas Cup. It's actually one regatta full call with 2 names. The final series being called the Christmas Cup, and the rounds robin being called the World Series. Predictions, our pick for the finals for this regatta. And the wind looks like it's going to be pretty mid-range, a little lighter or later in the week, and maybe breezy one day. But it's looking pretty consistent in the mid, like we saw today on Tuesday down there. And if that's the case, I think the teams that have had the most time on the water are going to be your likely finalists. Our pick for the finals, New York Yacht Club American Magic there on the left, and ETNZ, provided nobody breaks down. But that's the other issue here. Everybody thinks ETNZ have already won this. That is the whole kit and caboodle, the whole shooting matches. Where'd shooting match, that expression, come from?
I don't know.
But we think that ETNZ's got a big advantage going into the match even. But remember, to finish first you have to finish, and there could be a breakdown. Somebody could break down, and ETNZ could break down, and who knows what'll happen. not in an individual race. Maybe there'll be a collision, which who knows how that'll get played out. Okay, so that's our choice. And this picture, which is American Magic, is that? I can't. Who's coming bow on? It's American Magic, or is that Ineos? I can't tell. But against obviously Luna Rosa, and this is a picture being used for promotion of tomorrow night's, which tomorrow night in Europe, tomorrow morning here, sailmagazinet.no.Norway is doing a preview of the America's Cup World Series Regatta. Our good friend Mikkel Thomassen. Everything you need to know about the America's Cup is going to be broadcast at 1800 CET on there, and I'm not sure if it's on their Facebook channel or their YouTube or where, or maybe on their website. You can probably see it on their website, sailmagazinet. I'll go back to their logo so you can see it. And that's their website. That's their URL. And I sat an interview for that in the last 24 hours with Mikkel Thomassen. And I think you will find he's got some other, it will be partly in English, partly in Norwegian. That will air tomorrow morning at 0900 Pacific, which is 1800 CET. And I commend that to you. I think there will be some interesting observations. And Andrew Pindar is saying that is magic. It's Helly Hansen clothing. I think you're right in that photo coming at us. That's American Magic coming at us in that photo. Okay, that pretty well wraps up our America's Cup segment, except to repeat, we will do a watch party tomorrow night at 1800 Pacific. Our show number 359, Julia. Are you up for that?
Absolutely.
And then maybe we'll do it on Thursday as well. And then we'll have our normal show on Friday, and who knows what we'll do Friday night for the finals. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how the racing is. And you all tell us if you think it's worthwhile or not. And then if so, we'll contribute the time, take the energy, and do it. That's our AC 36 Cup date. Julia, any last-minute questions or comments?
No.
Fabian Haraldson saying lots of bodies in the Airstream. And, of course, we talked about that with Magnus Wheatley last Friday. And, again, the Kiwis have done a magnificent job with their aero package. Everything about that boat, including the helmets, the heads, are tucked down, are treated. They're unlike the other teams, which, you got people looking up over the castle parapet. You got the Kiwis down, except for the skipper and maybe the flight controller, the helm and the flight controller. And they just look, everything about that boat looks like it's got a terrific aero treatment. By the way, it looks like the Brits have gone back to their, they changed, one of the things they did was change foils back to a less draggy foil configuration in the last few days that they have been in the shed. John Mangino said, let's have a wedding. Okay, well, that's pretty much it, except for our final segment here when we do our 2020 Double Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. And man, oh man, hopefully, as Julia said at the top of the show, we're going to have a vaccine sooner than later. Hopefully you all are too. In the meantime, we hope everybody is having a safe holiday season as we get into it here. We're into Hanukkah now and soon into Christmas. This was sent by Ted Ryman, Julia, just before the air. The three body types that you might see on this show, because we have a lot of cyclists, yes. Alistair Murray and others who like to cycle, and we got some gym bunnies as well, and we have some sailors. Ted Ryman says that's how he views our three sports. But, of course, the America's Cup sailors are very fit, and they all had to do their weigh-in. The average per person is 90 kilos. 90. And some will be bigger. The grinders will be bigger, and the others will have to be lighter. But that's the crew weight average, and they have to weigh in before the series. And I think once they've weighed in once with their prescribed crew, I don't think they have to maintain that weight, so they don't have to keep watching every day. Now, we've been telling you about these buoys, the Prada markers that you've seen in the videos, and the boys, as those non-Americans would say. And I have a disturbing video. We're not quite sure what to call those buoys, but
buoys.
There's buoys. I like buoys. But look at this. There's even some music to accompany this. This was sent by a Fozy from Auckland in the last 24 hours. In fact, this morning. And Guess what? Yes, it's slowly sinking.
Oh, no.
Sailors become strong in arms and big in the belly. Soling sailors are pretty fit. Yeah, a lot of Karen Campia is saying. Matthias Collins, the best vaccine, get sick once and survive. Yep. Thanks for great AC coverage. Karen is saying it is now getting, it is. It's starting to have a good feeling, although for this buoy, Patricio's, what are we calling this? Patricio's what? Prophylactic? That's,
no.
Somebody thought it looked like the biggest wire nut in the world. It does look a little bit like a wire nut.
It does.
I thought that was pretty good. Leslie Martin says, thanks. Yep, thank you. Jose Maria Torcida Segers is watching.
Oh.
Thank you. Lots of bodies in the airstream.
Oh,
and there it goes.
Sad?
Now, I'm reliably informed.
Yes.
It looks like a submarine going down with
does.
a periscope. I'm reliably informed that they had a barge out there with a crane all night trying to recover the mark. I mean, it's got electronics on it. They presumably, I'm sure they have some backups.
Yeah.
But there it is. It went under yesterday, and they're out there trying to recover it. There is my good friend, and I do like this guy, Francesco Longanese. That's we're watching the press conference.
Mm.
And he is, Julia, you liked his voice.
Yeah. Yes.
To become the challenger of record.
And what a diplomat.
To take over the title and sponsorship agreement for the entire event. It was a natural evolution of our involvement.
Explaining Luna Rosa Prada Pirelli is the
list must
challenger
be
record.
quite long, no?
Yes, especially with the 12 hours difference time with Europe. So we work for New Zealand during the day and for Milano during the night.
You have a lovely daughter, Lavinia.
Okay, there's Bruno getting into lovely daughters and so on and so forth. So let's get out of that. And our final photo for our W Whiskey Tango Foxtrot segment. I thought we should end on a good, positive vibe. This Gerardo Seeliger sent this from Spain, a couple of Optimus sailors.
Yeah.
Who out in the COVID era are still managing to have a hug. Maybe that's not exactly social distancing, but who's going to know it except the photographer? And now all of our
Go
photos
sailing.
that these two sailors have stayed safe. Maybe not so safe, but at least they've gone sailing. Gerardo, thank you for that picture. And we appreciate that. It wraps up our 2020 segment. Dick Anderson, who photoshopped that photo for us. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, and who Julia is saying here, James Bland is saying, my mother had polio and has always had problems walking, and not a good omen if one of the sponsors' boys sinks. Clark Chapin is saying, Patricio's Poseidon? Patricio's Poseidon? Cherry in a martini. Das Boot. Well, there needs to be Italian. How do you say the boat in Italian?
Yate.
Yate.
I know it. That's, yeah.
Okay, well, we're all back. We're all over the place here at the end. What's Dr. Campbell? Somebody made a comment here about Dr. Campbell. Dr. Campbell said, quoting Winston Churchill, this is Dr. John Campbell, presumably, it is not the end, it is not even the beginning of the end, but it is perhaps the end of the beginning. Do you buy that?
Yeah, it's been repeated today. That's nice.
And you haven't decided yet which vaccine you're going to get?
Yeah, I have, but whether it'll be offered, I don't know.
Which one will you get?
Moderna.
The Moderna, not the Pfizer. And why is that? Because the Moderna it's 2 jabs, isn't it?
It's all right. But I'm sure
seriously,
both,
why are you going to take that one versus the Pfizer?
I'm sure they're both fine. But the temperature...
the Moderna doesn't have to be kept down at subarctic temperatures.
Yeah, it's more durable, I would say.
Okay, well, we shall see, and maybe we'll all get vaccinated hopefully sooner than...
The thing we have to remember is that both of these are over 95% effective, and regular flu is about 45% effective. So it's twice as effective as regular flu shots.
Yeah, John Emmett is saying that's a good point. Many people are too young to remember the importance of vaccines as opposed to surviving a disease. And I remember as a kid, they were just conquering, I think 53, the year I was born, and Salk came up with Salk Saban had the polio vaccine, and he was partly at Michigan, University of Michigan, so there was a lot of it. But I remember even after the vaccine, people getting vaccinated, the the parents saying, well, you can't go play with those kids. They haven't been vaccinated, or, you might get it from the dirt. Did you get it from playing in the dirt?
I don't know.
I don't either. Who knows? Great show as usual, Ted Ryman. Thanks, Julia. Thanks, everybody. It's just amazing how fast they were developed and how effective they are. Jonathan Frank is saying, indeed, that is, I think, the case.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us for this show, number 358, for Tuesday, the 15th of December. We'll be back tomorrow night. Tomorrow night. In the meantime, Julia likes to say,
please like, share, and follow.
And also comments, we leave commenting open during the replay, so you can do that. If you're watching this in replay, please do comment it, because it helps us, but we also like to hear what you think. Say what you think what you say. Patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated if you want to support us. I can report, Julia, that during the show,
yes,
I got a text notification from the bank.
Yes.
Saying that we had a $500 contribution from one of our FOSI.
Oh,
I won't
yum.
name who it is in case, but we are going to, over the holidays, I'm going to prepare the honor roll, contact all of you who have become patrons, and ask you if you'd like to be identified on our honor roll, on our list
how
of
wonderful.
supporters.
Yeah,
that's
great.
Really nice. Much appreciated. It keeps my landlady happy. The rent, and we have to pay the heat and the light bill, and we have to pay the internet bill. You would have thought we had to pay the internet bill today after we couldn't get on the air, but that's not the case. We indeed had. We thank everybody who contributed videos and more for today, of images and so on for today's show. And we commend to you our watch party tomorrow night, 1800 Pacific. That'll be our show number 359.
Go 360.
Well, we'll be 360 before the end of the week.
Right.
Soon it'll be 400. I can remember when it was 150. It's just, man, time flies. Well, I guess when you're having fun. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Hope you have a great 24 hours until we see you, a little more than that, 28 hours until tomorrow night. For sure, we'll see you Friday. We'll be back Friday. Well, we'll see you tomorrow night and Friday. We hope to see you on both occasions. In the meantime, stay safe and go sailing. Ciao. Bye. Two-hour show.